Welcome to National Liberty Alliance's weekly call. Today is Monday, July 21st, 2025. We broadcast live every Monday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're listening, on Rumble or YouTube and you would like to ask a question or make a comment, you can go to nationallibertyalliance.org and click on our weekly call for instructions to join us live by phone, Apple browser. If anybody would like to email a question, you can send your question to questions, that's plural, questions at nationallibertyalliance.org. Please support our business partners. You can find our banners on the right-hand side of the website, of which the proceeds go to support NLA's effort to save our republic. Also, please support NLA by donating $5 a month or more. Click on the donation tab on the top right side of the website. Okay, we're going to pick up with our scripture reading. Let's see, we're in the Gospel of Luke, and we're going to pick up where we left off last week, chapter 14. Luke, chapter 14. Read by Alexander Scorby. Yep, let me see if I get it going.
Chapter 14. And it came to pass, as he went into the house of one of the chief Pharisees to eat bread on the Sabbath day, that they watched him. And behold, there was a certain man before him which had the dropsy. And Jesus answering spake unto the lawyers and Pharisees, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? And they held their peace. And he took him, and healed him, and let him go, and answered them, saying, Which of you shall have an ass or an ox fallen into a pit, and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath day? And they could not answer him again to these things. And he put forth a parable to those which were bidden, when he marked how they chose out the chief rooms, saying unto them, When thou art bidden any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him, and he that bade thee and him come and say to thee, Give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest room. But when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room. When he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, Friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. For whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Then said he also to him that bade him, When thou makest a dinner or a supper, call not thy friends, nor thy brethren, neither thy kinsmen, nor thy rich neighbor, lest they also bid thee again, and a recompense be made thee. But when thou makest a feast, call the maid, the lame, the blind, and thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense. For thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just. And when one of them that sat at meat with him heard these things, he said unto him, Blessed is he that shall eat bread in the kingdom of God. Then said he unto him, A certain man made a great supper, and bade many, and sent his servant at supper time to say to them that were bidden, Come, for all things are now ready. And they all, with one consent, began to make excuse. The first said unto him, I have bought a piece of ground, and I must needs go and see it. I pray thee have me excused. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen. I go to prove them. I pray thee have me excused. And another said, I've married a wife, and therefore I cannot come. So that servant came and showed his lord these things. Then the master of the house, being angry, said to his servant, Go out quickly into the streets and lanes of the city, and bring in hither the poor, and the maimed, and the halt, and the blind. The servant said, Lord, it is done as thou hast commanded, and yet there is room. And the Lord said unto the servant, Go out into the highways and hedges, and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled. For I say unto you, that none of those men which were bidden shall taste of my supper. And there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, If any man come to me, and hate not his father and mother, and wife and children, and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it, lest haply after he hath laid the foundation, and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king, going to make war against another king, sitteth not down first, and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassage, and desireth conditions of peace. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. Salt is good, but if the salt have lost his savour, wherewith shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the land, nor yet for the dunghill, but men cast it out. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear.
All right, Jan, do we have any questions or announcements tonight?
Yes, we have several to John. Okay.
Okay. And by the way, the queue is open. Everybody wants to get into the queue. Star 601 if you're on the phone, and should be a button there if you're on an Apple browser. All right, Jan, go ahead.
Hold on a second.
This is the last communication ever received from Petit.
1927, Johnson has been gone for 2 years. Papers know any more from him. It's really a word.
Sorry, the TV was on. I couldn't find the controller.
Complicated by now.
Well, we can start with this one. I'd like to ask John, could he take a look at this tonight and let me know his thoughts? This is from Tanawa Downing, civil rights advocate and litigator. He reports he has collected over 2 million of these. He is going around the country and putting all attorney generals on notice, as well as some state Supreme Courts and various city councils. I'd like to use this personally in an attempt to get my husband released, as he has been unlawfully incarcerated for over 40 years.
But I'm not sure I understood the question.
Well,
I know we spoke with this person before, I believe, on a couple of occasions.
there was an email that went out regarding this, and it's not stated here. Do you remember seeing that? Talking about Tanawa Downing.
I'm familiar with somewhat of the case because we did speak with this person before. I'm pretty sure we did anyway. And but no, I haven't seen anything, at least not recently.
Okay, you want to try another one?
Yep.
And this is in regard to the question of the comma after we, the people. And it says Connecticut, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, upon publication, had a comma after the we, period. And it goes on to explain that now with a link to an item for each one of these. That which is shown in the National Archives catalog has a specific pica and no comma after we. And it gives a link for that. And then it says ambiguity, also found in the dictionary Thesaurus Medical Financial Encyclopedia. And there is no question attached to that, John. I think that was sent in twice.
Yeah, we did look at something last week concerning something with a comma, and I have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, I don't know that it sounds like there was an error or something. I'm not sure. What is there some kind of a paper that they mentioned or that I missed concerning this? We the people, I think they were saying.
Well, I do not see it. I may not have run across it.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, maybe we'll just take the next. Have we got any other questions?
Yes. Well, this one is long. What happens when a tenant lease is repeatedly breached month after month? The day we moved in, fraudulent promise our name would be put on the Wesco Fargo Utilities account as required by lease terms and conditions. It never happened, nor did we ever get a statement of usage and itemized charges. Property manager threatened eviction if we did not pay late charges on our water bill. We learned a year later that there was only one meter for the 4 connected buildings. We were advised by city utilities inspection to complaints the main water line broken after a single says shingle, but single meter, I think. Property manager refused to install individual meters. We learned she got paid approximately 25% of every dollar she collected. Negligence to show timely snow removal. As we were trapped from exiting driveways upon termination of our lease, we went month to month. Pending closing of our home purchase, lease clearly state either tenant or landlord must provide 60-day advance notice of vacancy, which we did, but property manager gave us 30 days. We had signed our previous 3 leases, UCC 1-308, under duress, preservation of rights. 2 months later, I am told by airport police a warrant for my arrest while out of state picking up my wife returning from Philippines, her mother's funeral. Put in Hennepin County Jail on June 28th. That would be Minneapolis area. Warrant was issued October 30th, 2024. I did not get copy of warrant until transported handcuffed to Fargo Jail, saying, Count 1, capital letters burglary in violation of section 12.1-2, 2-02, parentheses, 1 parentheses, 12.1-2, 2-02, parentheses, 2 parentheses. And that goes on and on and on. The defendant willingly entered or syrup. Title remained in a building or occupied structure or a separately secured or occupied portion of when at the time the premises were not open to the public and the defendant was not licensed, invited, or otherwise privileged to enter or remain within intent to commit a crime therein, to it, that on or about the above stated date the defendant so-and-so willfully entered, it says syrup again, or surreptitiously remained in a building or occupied structure or separately secured or occupied portion of when at the time the premises were not open to the public and the defendant was not licensed, invited, or otherwise privileged to enter or remain with intent to commit a crime therein. You are thereby commanded to arrest the above named defendant and bring him forth before the nearest available magistrate to answer the complaint. Signed, Judge was a rubber stamp signature. My court date for arraignment schedule is August 20th, 25. Do I have any recourse to file a complaint to have property manager arrested for extortion, fraud, embezzlement, defamation of credit, character, false charges, lawfare, and anything else we can think of while my court is pending? None of the charges are even remotely true, i.e. the building was not occupied and was during the day. and we were inside as the doors were open, including garage door. And I was within our 60 days, even though property manager violated her lease 60-day requirement of vacating. Can you make anything out of that, John?
Well, yeah, somewhat, because last week, we didn't hit that record button, so we never, recorded our program. But these sound like some of the questions we had over from last week, especially this one here. And I think the individual was in the room, and we did speak a little bit, or at least we did in the past, if it wasn't last week. It doesn't sound like there's really anything that he really could have been charged with. And trying to do charges to the manager doesn't really make too much sense, number one. And the things that he mentioned, or she, I think it was he, mentioned as far as a list of different things, there would be something that maybe might be in a lawsuit, not in filing criminal charges, because I don't see any criminal things here. And I remember it was something about bringing, I think, the garage door clicker and bringing it into the garage and leaving it there. And I think that was the whole thing all about. It sounds kind of silly in the sense that I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's nothing that I can believe that anyone would go to jail for. So again, there was a lot of stuff in there, and I'm not sure some of the things that they were mentioned. But anyway, I do believe we spoke about this before. But anyway, that's the best I could do on that, trying to glean.
Okay, that was the last question, John.
All right. Okay, if anybody has any questions, just star 6 and a 1 if you're on the phone, get into the queue. And if you come in on an app or browser, there should be a button to get in there. We do have a couple of people in the queue. So we'll take the first caller. Big guy, I know we spoke before. What's your first name and your state?
Richard, North Dakota. Hey, thanks for responding to that last question. What I didn't get to, what I wanted to get to, when I took college law back in the early 70s, we were told that the contract between two parties to perform. If either party breaches the contract becomes null and void and can't be enforced.
Well,
my question was, let me get to my let me get to my question.
I will
landlord
in a minute. I just want to make a note.
Even after they breach the lease and continue on.
Hold on a minute. I just want to make a note concerning what you just said. Yeah, it does break the contract, okay? But you can go through arbitration, you can go through a lawsuit, you can go through whatever you want on that. But if you want to use it to actually break the contract to get out of it, yeah, I think you could probably do that too. But anyway, go ahead.
My following is just a follow-up to that. Let's just go ahead and contract in general. We had no place to go. We were waiting to get an opportunity to buy a house, and blah blah blah. But we get down to the end. Can somebody with the breaches can continue to false accuse, harass, threaten? Which she did all of that. But here's what I found out. And under the property, a friend of mine was a multiple apartment building holder, and we were talking about property managers. And he said, "Oh, yeah, they get 25% whatever they collect." I go, "What?" Yeah. So this broken water main issue was there's five fourplex townhomes that are there. And not all of them have a broken water main, but they're all being charged for water that they didn't use. Now, is there something in there about weights and measures, regulating that if you're going to do that, you have to? I know most of the apartments here that I talk to, they when they have 1 meter, they just make it part of the rent. They don't have a separate charge, based on what the lease said. And they said, well, ethically, they can't do that because what if one person doesn't use any water and everybody else uses a whole bunch? So I talked to the previous property manager, and he said, yeah, no, when you only got 1 meter, I can't go make everybody else pay for somebody else's bill ethically, he said. And isn't there some kind of regulation on the weights and measures about, and where can I go to find that out? What they call the city? To say if there's some regulation on it?
It sounds like there's some fraud involved there. I look at it as embezzlement. Well, whatever you want to call it, I don't know about embezzlement, but fraud. When you have someone pay for something that like for instance a water bill, and you're using it in some fashion that it's really escalating the cost, and there was a couple other things you had mentioned also. I think it was in potentially last week we spoke, and maybe
a broken
some
water main.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. But
And I
charges
proved it.
for these kind of things would be fraudulent if it was done on purpose, unless it was done on accident. But
Nope.
If the water main was broken,
I can prove it's on purpose. I can
fine.
prove it's on purpose.
The point is this sounds more like fraud. That's what it sounds like. And you could
What
sue
kind of,
fraud if you
is
wanted.
it a civil or is it felony, things like that?
Well, I don't know that it could become a criminal thing, depending. It sounds like something more. Again, it could become a criminal thing, but you could take it into the civil court. But if you wanted to go try to file charges, maybe that's possible too.
The question that I bring it up because that one you just read it. I knowingly, intentionally went there to commit a crime. How are you going to prove that? Even the deputy that had the warrant, he said, "This is the silliest thing I've ever seen."
Well, again, you'd have to go through all of the facts and see if it's contradictory to begin with. Okay. Well, explain a little more about the water thing. So you had a water break. So what happened then?
Well, the water bill from the very beginning was well over $100, and we specifically asked her, "What is the water bill?"
There's an overcharging for the water.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that should be proved by statistics to begin with.
Well, I did. I went and got all the other 4 units.
That's what you got to do. I mean, if you want to make a big thing about it, it would be a civil case. I don't know that you'd want to go criminal with it. I don't know that you could say there's criminal there, but it could be potential. If there's a lot of things going on of that type, and it's with a lot of people, then yeah, you're looking at something that could be considered criminal. If it's just you or a couple of people, I don't know. Again, you can take that civilly. Fraud could be a crime, but pretty much a lot of these things in fraud, you can take it right into the civil courts.
Yeah. Well, the fraud thing is that what got me going on this thing is I intentionally, knowingly went in there to commit a crime. Well, what was the crime? They don't spell that. Now, I did get a public defender. I got a letter from him since the last time we talked, and he's requested.
Well, they're going after you for trespassing, right?
What's that?
They're going after you for trespassing. Am I correct in that, or am I incorrect? I think
it was burglary with intent to commit a crime.
Well, what did you do? You walked in, you trespassed, and you put something back that didn't belong to you, and you left.
Yeah. TV. Okay.
Correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
She took pictures of everything. She was also saying we didn't clean the place, and that
has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with a crime. That has to do with really.
Right. No, I know that, but. What got me thinking is, how do you prove intent to commit a crime if I didn't take anything, if I didn't destroy anything? When we went in there was to see that everything with all the doors that were damaged when we moved in. There's a lot of things she didn't do, and if I have to, I can get witnesses from the manager, the property maintenance guy. He was saying that this is the most dishonest woman he's ever seen. She's charged for water that isn't even yours. But what did it boil down to? She collects money. So I did the math on this whole thing, and I had gotten all for a previous year back in 2021. I got for 2020, I got the whole year, and then I got the previous year last year when we were moving out. And I did the water thing again, and my gosh, our water bill for all 4 of those units was like 28,000 gallons a month. For 4 units, that's 7,000 gallons. It was 30. It was something astronomical.
What kind of money are you looking at?
The water guy said the only way that could happen, you got something is constantly running.
What did it cost you? What were the payments?
Ours were at least $100 to $105 each for 4 units per unit for times 4. So I went down. All of them were getting charged the same thing, not because they weren't using much water. I wanted to see, is this consistent with everybody else? I just went on averages, and my gosh, the average of those other units was like 4,000 gallons a month. We were getting billed for 12 and 14 and 15,000 gallons a month, which is almost triple.
All right, well, look, again, all you have to do is, if you look at the statistics of that particular unit, or units, plural, what are you renting, 4 units or something? You mentioned there
We're
was,
renting one townhome unit. They're all connected one common
so
wall.
there's 4 units on that
4 units.
one structure. Okay.
One structure, and then there's 4 more just like that.
So what do the other 3 have to do with you? Nothing, right?
Other than just proving that she's got up to something. What I found out about was that she's getting paid for every dollar she collects. So the rent was a separate thing. After that incident in 2022,
All right, well, look,
I wrote separate checks.
what basically, if you feel that you've been defrauded, then you would get the facts, show the statistics of the past bills, then show the billing that you were being billed for. I presume the other 3 units, they're not complaining, are they?
They were complaining too. They just
they collectively will go in and do something about it. At some
But
point,
here's the thing: she knew there was only 1 meter from the very get-go. And then after I told her, the city department came out and said we got a broken water main after the meter. He told me if it's before the meter, the city's going to have to fix it, but after meter, the property owner has to take care of it. And so she knew it, and I sent her a letter. I said the simple solution is saying is put a meter in each unit.
okay.
There were
so
other
what?
ones that they built.
So what? Okay, hold on. So what she apparently
knowingly, willingly was defrauding us.
All right, look, we can't hammer this too long because we've talked about this a lot. But bottom line is this: it appears from now I'm understanding a little better. There's 1 meter, and it's going in for four different units, and
Yes.
she's making the division, but she's padding it, and that's it. That's what she's doing, right?
Well, she's not padding it. She's making us pay for the broken water main, which in her lease says she's responsible for plumbing.
Oh well, that's so no big deal. Let her try to sue you then. I mean, if it's in the lease, she's not going to go nowhere. Why bother with it? So
I'm not understanding.
anyway, well, you left the place, right? You moved.
Yes.
Okay, you're talking about a couple of $100, right?
Over 5 years, it's $50 a month times 12 times.
Right, well, whatever that might be. But now you got a broken water main, and what are you saying? That what did that amount?
She wouldn't fix it. She made us pay for that water that was going down the drain.
All right, well, again, if you want to get the money back, you go sue it. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a lot of money. I don't know whether it'd be worth it. I mean, if you're going to get a lawyer, then it's probably not going to be worth it at all.
No, I'm just saying.
So if you go into arbitration or something, you'd be able to make an argument. Maybe you get a few dollars out of it. It doesn't sound like anything you'd really want to be bothered with.
What I'm thinking she's doing, she's trying to make an example of me so that nobody else wants to take her on. What she's looking at, and I know I'm right on this one.
That's irrelevant.
I know I'm right on this. She is afraid of losing that little cash cow she's got going on there. She gets paid.
Look, it sounds, but you're gone from there. Why even bother yourself with it? Move on. It doesn't. If you want to go try to get the few dollars that she owes you on that, you can go for that in arbitration. You can go to a county, small claims, it's arbitration, and it doesn't cost you $20 or $30 to file for an arbitration. And then you don't need a lawyer or anything. You tell your story, you bring in your facts, and then some judge will make a decision on it, and you either win or you lose. But it doesn't sound like it's anything worthwhile wasting your time on. You seem to be too focused in. Well, just walk away from it.
I had to sit in jail because of that woman's vindictiveness. It was a warrant that should be dismissed. It never should have been issued to begin with. I was never told I was told there was a warrant there, but I wasn't told they were going to be putting on the books. If I get pulled over, I'm going to get arrested.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Anyway,
I don't know. If there's a warrant, you're not saying what is on the charges of the warrant. I mean, it's a trespassing.
Burglary.
What did they claim that you're stealing? What was in the house to steal?
Nothing. It was empty.
Okay, well,
it was not occupied.
Why did you go? Why did you stop? Hold on. Why did you go into the house or into the garage?
To return the garage door open, which I figured if she's going to.
That's your story. It's in the subject, so you go deal with it in court. I don't see anything going anywhere here. No one's going to put you in jail for that.
I'm having to appear in court.
Yes, but they're not going to put you in jail for something like that.
Okay.
Your story is you're returning the what do you call it, the remote for the garage door. Their story is you went in there to steal something, but there's nothing in there to steal. Correct? It's an empty place, so that's it.
Pictures.
Yeah, so big deal. There's nothing going to go on with that.
Okay.
The court may just.
I did get a good judge. I did get a judge that let me out. The frustrating thing is that the sheriff's department wouldn't let me go down to Minneapolis on my personal recognizance. Nope, you're going to jail. So I had to sit there for 5 days waiting for her to get extradited back to North Dakota. And it was just so stupid. Then I came up to North Dakota. I had to sit in jail for another 4 or 5 days because it was over the 4th.
Well, hold it. Now that's a whole different story. Now you can do if you can prove the fact that you didn't, because this is all over returning a remote, and they're claiming you stole something or you were breaking an entry, right?
Yes.
And then you went to jail. Well, that's suffering. You can sue her for false claims.
Because I was reading in your common law handbook for the courts about breaking, violating the peace, the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and the Fifth Amendment.
She's not the government. That'd be the court. If the court violated you with denial of due process or something like that, of course, that's when your rights kick in. But another individual, to a degree, they're not the government.
Now you're just let me up to the next question. When I got this summons, when I finally got a copy when I was sitting in the Fargo jail, it said that the plaintiff was the state of North Dakota.
Okay.
It wasn't the property manager. It was the state of North Dakota. Why would they be part of that?
Those are the owners, I presume, right?
Yeah. No, the state of North Dakota is not the owners.
No. You said that they're from a different state, I presume. I didn't understand that.
Well, I was picked up in Minnesota. The warrant was in my hometown of Fargo, North Dakota, and then when I got up here and I saw that the plaintiff, I asked for a copy of it and they wouldn't give it to me. It was all on me to call up and set up a court. There's so many weird things going on, but I feel like a lot of my rights were violated. Privacy, peace and happiness, all of this stuff. She's just a mean person, and she's going to do whatever she can to.
Well, look,
without getting into that, why is the state the plaintiff in this thing?
Well, I have no clue on what's really going on here. But the bottom line on this whole thing, ultimately, if you want to sue them for something, then sue them for something. You can sue them for false arrest, maybe. I don't know all the details on it, but it sounds like something that could be a possibility. And that's what you do. It's going to cost you money to do that, and it doesn't sound like it's enough to really get too deep into hiring a lawyer. So again, arbitration is the way to go if you want. I would just walk away. I don't know why you're wasting your time with this.
Well, she's looking to muck up the credit by filing a $10,000 claim for replacing the carpet, the floor in the house, the garden, the yard, everything. She's just hit me up with everything. And I'm not going to be. I'm not going to.
Again, if you continue going back and forth, of course they're going to go back and forth.
I wanted to walk away.
I
dropped the whole thing.
We're going to have to bring this to an end because we keep going in circles, and we did speak a lot about this last week, and we might even have spoken about it before.
You kind of gave me some hope.
You have a good story. There's nothing in there to have been stolen. You brought the remote. You put it back because it wasn't yours. I guess you had it in your car or whatever. No big deal. What judges are going to prove anything beyond that?
The judge did read me my rights and said you're innocent until proven guilty beyond a shadow.
Well, that's all I can tell you. I can't help you.
So he seemed like a good judge. I just wonder if there's anything else that I should be aware of.
I'd walk away if I were you. I don't know why you.
Well, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
Well, you sound like you're upset about it. There seems to be something that's going back and forth between you.
Well, I'm upset because I had to sit in jail for 10 days.
Well, then go sue them for false arrest.
Who am I suing? The state?
You sued the individual that put you in jail, that filed the papers to put you in jail for false arrest. It's that simple.
That's all I wanted to hear. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to the next person.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Is this Sean?
Yep. Hi, John.
How you doing? What state are you from again? I know we spoke last week, I think.
California, a couple weeks ago. So Jan was the one who read the first question was mine via email, but Jan, I did not hear you mention, I actually sent an affidavit. That's what I was asking John to look over to see what his thoughts were on this affidavit that has been put together by that Tanawa Downing. So his claim is similar to what you told me before, John, that basically most people that are incarcerated right now are unlawfully incarcerated due to the fact that they did not have a jury trial. My husband did not have a jury trial. Mm-hmm. So Tanawa is claiming also, I guess maybe further than that, that nobody has been convicted by grand jury, which means that they've not been indicted, that they've been arrested and convicted and sentenced based on information, not indictment. So he put together this affidavit.
Who put the affidavit together?
Tanawa Downing, the man that woman who mentioned a couple weeks ago. So I went and looked him up, and I've been looking at all of his videos and been communicating with him. And his website is We Shall Be Free. He calls himself he went to law school. He calls himself a civil rights advocate / litigator. So he's already gone around to all 50 states and served notice to all attorneys general, some Supreme Court, and some city councils. I put them on notice that they
Someone's got an open mic out there. Right, go ahead. Someone's got an open mic close to mic. All right, go back to you.
So he's accusing them of criminal conspiracy and charging them with deprivation of rights under the color of law, conspiracy to deprive rights, kidnapping, and emolument. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Emolument violations. So I sent the affidavit. I'm hoping that you can take a look at it because I feel like I want to try and pursue this on my own. He's taking this to the Supreme Court, but I feel like I want to try and do my due diligence now one-on-one with the courts that convicted my husband unlawfully and see what their response to this affidavit would be if I present it to them. So that was my question for you: is could you review the affidavit and what are your thoughts?
Look, if he's in jail, without an indictment, okay, to begin with, he has to be indicted. To commit a crime, indictment to the place. That's number one. And there was no trial; it was just a judge trial, I guess.
Yep.
And there was no trial, then you should be able to appeal that. And that case should be able to be thrown out. I doubt they're going to retry it, but it sounds like he's been in jail for quite some time.
43 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I mean, to pull that case back together again, they're not going to do that. But that's one way to beat it. Okay,
but he appealed it initially years ago, and then since I've been with him, which has been going on.
No, forget about the appeal. Forget about anything else that took place. Bottom line, there was no indictment, no trial, in jail 40 years, by a trial by judge, which is not even possible that they do it, because that's just what they do. Then, again, there is no case. You should be able to beat that and move it into federal court if necessary. I would go through the state court first and be able to have that case dismissed.
To remind you, the last time I spoke with you about this, the judge who sentenced him is literally still sitting on the bench today, 43 years later. I wrote to him personally, and I gave him all the information that I just presented to you as far as him not having a jury trial and how that was unlawful. And the judge told me that he could not hear the case because the case had never been before him before. So he lied, and then he pawned me off on the public defender's office, who would not give me the time of day. So my issue is I totally believe in everything that you're saying, but where do I go with that when all they do is slam the door in our face?
Well, you have to file a paper with in the state court, lay out the facts that the individual's in jail without a trial. So there's no due process whatsoever. Okay, right. No due process whatsoever.
And I've done that.
That's enough there. I mean,
I've done that. We've done that, and they denied it. They denied
you went to the appeals court or to the Supreme Court in the state.
Superior Court, not Supreme Court.
Okay, well, again, I don't know how the state structures their court. It's different here in New York, but what's the difference between the Superior Court and the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court is the final word?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, it sounds like Supreme Court would be higher, but I don't know if they have a Supreme Court here.
Well, the Supreme Court should be the highest, and but the Supreme Court, again, that would be the final. That you can't go any further than that. But then you can move it into the federal court. I would just move it into federal court for cause, but again, you have to know what you're doing. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to get an attorney to do it.
And I don't know what I'm doing.
Well,
All
again,
I know is what I hear from you, and I act on that.
Yeah. Well, here's the bottom line. I'm gonna give you a quote from Jefferson. If people expect created and free, they expect what never was, never going to be. If your heritage is in the law, okay, and your inheritance is liberty. And if they violate your liberties, okay, and you don't understand it, and you don't understand how to defend it, and you don't even understand what all your liberties are, he's been in jail for 40 years, and nobody figured out that due process didn't take place at all. There was no argument made by that. I find that hard to believe.
Now, when I came across you all, John, and I have been knocking on everybody's door since then, trying to tell them the same, and they just continue to deny the writs that I filed and slam the door in our face. That's the response I've gotten.
Because they're going to ignore you. Why would they bother with you? You can't take it back to them. You got to go beyond them. Take it to the federal court. But again, you do have a problem. You're going to have to either hire a lawyer to do this, okay? But you can't do it yourself because you don't have the knowledge to do that. And that is why it's so important that people should learn these things in school. Now, of course, they want to keep the slaves stupid. We're all slaves to this whole powers that be, so to speak, We're slaves to them. And why are they going to allow us, or why would they want us to become educated? Why would they want us to come into their courts? They call it their courts. It is their courts because they've created some of the court system. It's not a court of justice. It's a chancery court, and they're all chancellors. They're going to ignore you. Of course they're going to ignore you. Why would they bother with you? You need to take it someplace else. I'd say federal court. Again, I would first take it to the state court. But again, why do that at this point for you? I would do it to the state court because it gives you more bites at the apple, so to speak. But federal court for denial of due process.
Okay. Well, and I trust and believe in that, and it's just a matter of getting them to acknowledge it and accept responsibility and let him out.
They're not going to accept anything. You're going to have to force it. You take it into court, and it's got to be. Look, it's a small situation as far as there's not much argument to be made. Any lawyer should be able to beat this case, slam dunk in moments' time. All they have to do is look into the case, get into the records, find that there is no indictment and that there was no trial by jury, and that a judge did summary judgments on him and put him in jail for 40 years. That's outrageous if all that is the truth. So it's very simple. Case,
life sentence.
No due process. No due process.
Right.
So, anyway, that's all I can help you with now.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's see, Terry. Next question. You got the mic? See if we get that. Thought I hit. Excuse me. Thought I hit the button. Maybe I didn't. Can we try it again? Terry, you got the mic. What state you from?
John, this is Terry from the big state of Minnesota, my wonderful governor, the vice president.
Okay. Go right ahead. You got the. And by the way, if anybody else wants to get into the queue, star 6 and 1 if you're on a phone, and should be a button there if you're on an app or a browser to get into the queue. We've only got 2 people in the queue right now. So, all right, go ahead, Terry.
From the lady that was in California there, Superior Court is right above District Court, but it's below the Superior Court for her state. That's what a Superior Court is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So just to help her out, that's what that is.
The different states have different names for their courts, and they look at it differently. So
well, it's kind of like the appeals court here in Minnesota would be my best guess.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have witnesses. You just go up there and you make your argument without any witnesses because you've already gone through the district court. So my guess is whatever state in California, they don't really do an appeals court. They do a superior court, and then maybe you can appeal it after that. I don't know. I didn't look into it that much detail.
Right.
So.
It sounds the simplest thing, take it into federal court, but it's going to be difficult for her to find a lawyer that's not going to charge an arm and a leg to take it into federal court, even though it's really a simple case. There's not much to discuss. No indictment, no trial.
I think the biggest issue is like the gentleman from North Dakota and her from California. I think the biggest problem here is that these are our employees, and they're less educated than most people out on the street. And so even the people in the appeals court, like where I was at, they have no idea what the law is. They just know what their authority is, and their authority is what basically says, hey, we don't care what your rights are. We're the authority. You have no rights. And I think that's the argument with everybody that I hear coming here is going, my rights were violated, and it's the government that typically violates it. The gentleman from North Dakota, he's right. There was somebody there. He said it was the state versus him. So if it's somebody that was private that actually is involved here, it can't be the state versus him. So he's right on that one also. So somehow the state took it over, or, he's not explaining it correctly. I can't say, but I don't trust. To me, we've talked about this before. I think the dumbest people in the world are the lawyers. I really do. I think they're educated to know that there is no such thing as God's law or natural law or common law. There's only their law. And their law is always to violate a right. And that's what I have a problem with. They don't care about our rights if we're innocent. They only care about violating our rights. And so, I've been put in jail twice for being innocent, not for violating anybody's rights. And that's where I have a real heart for the person from California and the person from North Dakota and everybody else here. We're all trying to get our rights to be respected, and that's what our employees are supposed to do, is protect those rights, not to violate them. And we go to court, and you can't argue with an idiot because they've got so much more experience than you do. You can't win in a district court. You can't win in any of these courts unless somebody up there at some level goes, yes, your right was violated, we did it. And the only person I can think of that might actually do that is Clarence Thomas. I don't know any judge who goes, yeah, we violated your rights, we're going to stop doing that. They're not going to do that. And I wasn't even going to plan on talking about that. I have a question for everybody here. My wife and I went, we had, my right was violated and my wife's rights were violated at a hospital. We have proof, we have evidence. They have a policy that violates the right of fair trade. And we have it all documented. We have it in an email that they sent that they were not going to respect our right of fair trade. So I went to the sheriff and I said, my rights were violated. I've got the proof here. And they said, we're not going to, that's a labor dispute. We don't care that your rights were violated. You can't talk to us, you can't talk to the police department, and you cannot file a report on that right violation.
Was this a hospital thing, you said?
It was a hospital, yes. And so what I am is I'm a contract with those. What I do is they contract with me, so they employ me to haul people on stretchers from the hospital and bring them to hospital cottages or to bring them to their home or to another nursing home. So
you were running an ambulette?
Yeah, it's called an ambulette. Good job. Yeah, you're one of the very few people that knows what an ambulette is. Exactly. Non-emergency medical transport. So right. my point here is even though we've got complete documentation that a right was violated and that they went through and said, we don't care that we're violating your rights, we're going to keep taking advantage of you. The police.
So, let me understand this a little better now. So you're operating an ambulette, and are you contracted or are you employed?
Well, it's a contract of good faith.
But is it employment? Or you worked for them constantly every day? You went into work and you?
No. They call, and that's the contract of good faith. Everybody.
I'm trying to get the picture though. So they called for a transport of an individual and needed an ambulette, so you supplied the ambulette.
I'll explain what you're asking about. So we contract with every facility that wants to call us and do a transport. So it's a contract of good faith with every hospital, every nursing home, every human being. They call us and go, we want to contract with you. It's fair trade.
Do you have a meeting of the mind? Do you have a written contract signatures or
no,
nothing?
Everything is contract. My wife doesn't, when my wife goes to work, she doesn't sign a contract with the hospital.
But I'm just trying to understand your situation.
No, I'm trying to explain that to you.
But if you go to work, who owns the vehicles?
Well, here, I'm trying to explain to you. Everybody has a contract of good faith, and everybody has the right. And a contract that you're referring to that you would sign, that would be between partners. Like if you go through and you say, I want to be a partner with somebody, but everybody has the contract of good faith, and everybody has the right of fair trade. So when you go to some place and you want to buy something or you want to buy somebody's service, that is a contract that's not signed. It's a right from God that says you have the right of fair trade. And so nobody goes to work and says, I got to sign a piece of paper to be employed by somebody. It's just agreed upon. You might do a signature, but that doesn't change anything. That doesn't everybody has the right to be employed.
Try one more time, because I really don't know what you're talking about, because I don't understand the relationship. So let me ask you the question. You transport people by ambulance from one point to another point.
Yes,
correct? That's number one. We understand that. Okay. So the vehicle that you use to do that, is that something you own or you work or something that the facility owns and you're working using that transport?
It depends on what state you're in. In some states, the hospitals actually hire people.
Situation for what you're talking about, I don't understand if you're acting as a contractor or you're an employee.
Everybody is a contractor.
They don't take Social Security. They don't take it. They don't take any taxes out. You don't get a paycheck. You get. I mean, how do they pay you? They pay you by the mile. They pay you by the call.
They pay you by the call.
Is this your vehicle that you're using to make the transport?
Yeah, I have a $70,000 vehicle. So we have $40,000 stretchers. Yes, those.
Okay, I understand all that. So you must have an agreement with these people.
No. It's a contract of good faith.
Oh, fine. Hold on. I understand. You're working without a contract, and there is a standard payments for these things. I mean, what?
No. That is something that you. It's like you decide what you want to sell something for, and so you compete. So it's the same as anybody in the retail or a gas station.
So you're bidding the job.
No, you say this is what my rates.
I don't understand the agreement. I mean, it's
yeah, if you want, I'll explain the agreement.
Well, try to keep it simple because, again, either you're employed or you're not employed. You own vehicles, you own something, and you have
that's in that. That's in
that agreement you have with these people. Is there a verbal agreement?
It's a contract of good faith.
Is it a verbal agreement? Do you have a verbal agreement? I'm going to do this for you for X amount of dollars. And that, what kind of an agreement do you have? It's
an unwritten contract of good faith.
So you can just bill them whatever you want to bill them?
No, you tell them what the price is, and they decide if they're going to use you or they're going to use somebody else.
Fine. So you tell them what the price is, they decide to use you, then they pay the payment. You're saying they're not making the payment.
No, what I'm saying is they decide if the patient is going to pay. And if the patient can't pay, then they go, well, we're not going to pay you to get our patient out of the hospital.
Again, I don't know why you'd be doing anything without a contract, some kind of an agreement.
Everybody has a contract.
So did you bill the patient?
No, because if the patient pays, we would do the trip, but the hospital does not guarantee, and they're the ones that contract with us.
Okay, well, I can't help you without a contract. I'd give you some thoughts on it, but I have no idea on what you're doing or what you're charging.
That's why I'm trying to explain it to you, John, but you don't want to hear what I'm trying to explain to you.
You said that you gave them a price to do a job.
No, you're not hearing me. And if that's fine, if you don't want to hear what I have to say, that's fine.
Well, I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so let me explain it to you. Everybody in the world has a right of fair trade. And everybody has what's called a contract.
Not the price and the agreement. Let's just get to that. I understand everybody.
But you're ignoring what I'm trying to say, John. You keep cutting in, and you won't let me finish.
Because you said it 10 times.
What did I say?
That you have a right to some fair trade.
No, I didn't say I do. I said everybody does.
Okay, fine. Everybody does. What does that have to do if you have a business and you're going to do something with someone? If it's a bid situation where you put up the bid and they accept the bid, then you get some kind of a paperwork or something on it that you won the bid and you go to the job and get paid.
There's no bid. What I'm trying to here, I'll make it as simple as I can. A gas station goes and sets a price at $2.80 a gallon. The guys across the street set it up at $2.75 a gallon. Which place are you going to go to? You're going to go to the cheapest place. That's the contract that everybody has in the right of fair trade. It's competition. How low do you want to go in order to get that job? Everybody has that. If you go to some place here, if you go to Menards or another, Home Depot, and it's cheaper over at Menards than it is at Home Depot, you go to the cheaper place. That's the right of fair trade. Everybody has a contract, and everybody has, there's employers and employees. And
what's your agreement?
What's that?
What's your agreement? What's your contract?
When the hospitals, I go to them and I say, this is what we do, this is what our price is. They call us and do that, and that's the agreement. And so they said that we want to contract with you.
And the subject, that's it. There's your agreement. It's a verbal agreement.
No, it's a contract. Is what
you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it, fine. Call it a contract. But that's it.
There's two things. There's the right of fair trade and the contract of good faith that every human being on this planet has. And that's what it is. It's not what I call it. That's what it is.
Fine. So what's your question?
Okay, so my question is we went because they're not honoring that contract of good faith, and so we documented that. We got the evidence. We went to the sheriff's department, and they said we will not accept it. And
that's not where you go. You go to court.
What's that?
The sheriff can't do nothing for you. You go to court.
So who do you file a report with?
Well, you sue the individuals that you made these verbal agreement with.
Right, but how do you sue them? How do you file it?
You go into court and you file a complaint. Well, I wouldn't call it a complaint, but maybe you would do because it is commercial. I'd file a complaint.
And see, that's my question. So what you're telling me doesn't make sense to me, because what if I got raped? Would I not report that to the sheriff's department or the police department?
That's a crime. It's a different story. The other thing is...
This is a crime. A right violation is always a crime.
Agreement. That's all it is. I don't understand what you're doing.
Right of fair trade. That's why you're ignoring that part. Everybody has a right of fair trade.
All right, look, if you want to fix this problem and you want to get paid for something that you haven't been paid for, there's only one way you're going to do it. It's not a crime that this situation took place. I'm a contractor. Well, I'm a retired contractor. I'm not contracting anymore. I've had to have I've had arguments and differences for quite a bit of money on different contracts, and you either end up going to arbitration or you go to court. All my contracts I learned pretty early in life. Forget about the court side of things. I just would go and we put into the contract arbitration, an arbitration clause under the AIA. That's in construction. And for you, again, you'd either want to make a contract or whatever it is that you're going to do. But if you don't have a written contract, but you do have a verbal contract, then that is standard, and you can show the certificates of whatever record you have, or maybe you have some kind of a logbook showing that you made the pickup, you made the drop-off, here's the individual, this is the name, went from here to there, and this was the charge and they didn't pay, so you go to court. It's that simple. Or you can do arbitration in a county court. That's my advice to you. Do you have any other questions? Because this is just going around and around in the same thing.
Yeah, my wife was saying the same thing. This is absolutely going around. My second one here is the state of Minnesota, especially my hometown of Laverne. They have if you do not buy the garbage service from the city of Laverne, they will shut your utilities off. That is a right violation. That is extortion.
That you can sue for.
Yeah, so that's why I'm going to this one, since the other one was never, really addressed. So, how do you file that?
Well, you go into the local court and you file for that. Now, again, it's not commercial, so you could do something and go in a court of record if that's what you want to do, if you understand that process.
Okay, so how do you
you're going up against the status quo in the area, so that could be problematic when you go into a court.
Right, so that I'll stick with that example instead of the other one. It's our employees. They are violating our right. They're extorting us, saying that if we take and use another garbage service, they will shut our utilities off, the rest of them. And so that is extortion, and that's my whole point with this, is that our employees...
You need, first of all, I'm sure there's no regulations for laying that out that way, but you need to look into those things. Who knows? Things are so oddball these days. Who knows what they got? I mean, they just make things up anyway. But, yeah, I doubt there's any kind of regulations or anything that allows them to do that to you. So I've taken it to court.
Great, but how do you file that?
What do you mean, how do you file? You file a complaint. Do you know how to file a complaint to court? Again, there's two different ways to go. If you file a complaint, again, and this is a small item, so I would look at it potentially as a complaint maybe. Maybe that's the best way to go. Because the other way is a jury trial. So if you don't know how to file a complaint or file a court of record for a jury trial, then you have to learn how to do that. And if you go up on our website under Education Starts Here,
I've already done that, John.
You come down here to Court Access in the Common Law course, and we'll teach you how to do that.
I've already done that. My point here, this is not my point. I'm not worried about being extorted. I'm not worried about them violating the contract. I'm worried about our employees, our public employees, violating our rights. And it's happening at the city level. It's happening in the courts. It's happening at the sheriff's departments. Every one of our employees is violating every one of our rights. And that's what I'm concerned with, is that, we can all argue about who got violated, what got violated, and be upset about it. I'm not upset. I'm not even upset about going to jail for these things. What I'm concerned with is the fact that our employees are violating every one of our... There's not a right that they're not violating.
So what's your question out of this? I understand. It is true what you're saying. We have problems with government at every level. The people who are employees, okay, and I'm going to try to define the difference between the two, okay? You got people who are employed to do a job. Then you got people who have the authorities. Okay, those people that have authority are appointed. And the people who are appointed by someone elected. So you trace the channel up and you get to the person who's elected, who made the appointee, to correct the problem. And that's where you start if you wanted to try to deal with the bureaucracy. They're probably going to ignore you because they don't want to be bothered with you because they're lazy. Look, we know that government is a big problem. We do not have government by the consent of the people. And one of the main reasons we don't have government by the consent of the people is because most people don't want to give up their time to have government by consent. And if you don't get the people to give up some time to have government by consent, then they don't deserve the liberty that they're claiming they want. It's that simple.
Well, then let me put it this way. I have a point of contention there. It's government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yeah, but you have to do something to make it work. They've already stolen all that from you.
Can I finish?
Well, hold on. No, because the Rules Enabling Act stole all that from you. The people are ignorant. They don't know. They didn't see it. Now, they can see it now because we teach it here. I'm sure there's other people that teach it also about this Rules Enabling Act, which is what destroyed our courts of law. All right? And if you don't have honest courts of law, you have nothing in government that is honest at all. Nothing in government that is just at all. And that's where we're at. So you can complain all you want. You're not going to get anywhere. But it's doing something If you want to do something to fix the problem, get people together and start a committee of safety and start exercising your unalienable right of government by consent.
I'm very educated on my rights, and I'm very educated on who the government is, and it's us. These guys are our employees. We need to take it back, because the only time they have dominion over us is when we violate a right. And that's my concern here, is that every government employee is what you refer to as government. There are employees. We are the government. Of the people, for the people.
Divided we fall. You are divided. We are divided. You are one person. You're not getting anywhere.
The Declaration of Independence says it takes one person.
They don't care about that. You're not going to get that executed.
Oh, I don't care what they think. I care what I think, and I care what God's rights are, and I do not care about our employees.
But you don't have enforcement.
I don't care what our employees think.
No, you don't have enforcement. How are you going to enforce them? How are you going to make them do what they have to be done? How are you going to make them do what they need to
stop doing it? But what we can do is we can go through here and go in, and our sheriff is elected, and that's where I'm doing. I've actually gone through and done a warrant. I've done an order here, and I've gone through and done a writ with all these.
That's not going to do anything. They're not going to pay anything. They're going to throw that in the garbage.
Oh, sure, of course they are. Yeah, but what I'm doing now is now I'm going to be going to every employee to see if they're willing to go through and declare war.
They're not going to do anything. They get a job. They want their paycheck.
So you're saying there's no solution?
Of course there's a solution.
What is it?
It requires time and money. It requires your time to create and to work with others within your county to get a committee of safety going. That's what it starts with. And you have to learn about how to do that and how that works and how you have power and authority. We have the unalienable right of government by consent. That's the right we have from the Declaration of Independence, which is the foundation of all American law.
How many have to consent?
Excuse me?
How many have to consent?
You're not listening to the problem, or to the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is you need to get a group of people in your county working together. You have to develop subcommittees. You have to give yourself up 3 hours a month, coming to a meeting, and maybe 4 hours a month, because in between you'll have a little work to do, maybe some phone calls to make, some things to do here or there. But and then you come together and you throw your money together, $5-10 a piece, and this covers your cost. The cost is very minimum for a committee of safety, but there's things you'll need money for. So that's what you start with. You start taking government back from the local level. You take it back from the village level, the town level, the city level, the county level, and eventually the state level, as other people are doing the same thing in their counties. This is called government by consent. Now, this whole structure and everything was set up 250 years ago. When we became a nation, well, maybe not, 230 or 40, whatever it's been years. When this government became, when we became a nation, okay, and we have the Declaration of Independence, of course, which is the foundation of law. We have the Constitution, which includes the capstone Bill of Rights, okay, and then they had committees of safety. Committees of safety created the nation. Committees of safety maintained control of the government. It was called the Committeeman. We call them the Committeeman today. And it probably was called that back in those days too, because that's what they are, they're Committeemen. But what happened is that was robbed also, okay? And that's where the minions of the New World Order came in, which is the bar judges and the bar lawyers, okay? And they created statutes in order to do certain things for the elections. And eventually they got together and they got party bosses. So you have an individual that controls the whole thing. He's on the take, so to speak. Maybe it's an individual that's got business going. Maybe they're getting contracts, highway contracts with towing or whatever. There's all kinds of different things. There are deals made. All of these people I have discovered, a lot of them are lawyers that are running these committeeman processes on the political parties. Okay? But that is the perverted side of things. They perverted that whole system. So what we need to do is create the committees of safety on every county level, and take back government from the grassroots up. And that's the only way we're going to do this. There is no other way. You can't have, one person is just going to get knocked down, ignored, trampled on, and you're irrelevant. You're not a threat to them. You get a committee of safety going, you have enough people involved, and you start getting some clout going, and then you turn the sheriff to work with you, because you'll have to educate that sheriff, and if the sheriff doesn't want to be educated, then you do a recall on him. We teach you how to do a recall. That's part of the power and the authority of the people, to recall individuals. It only takes petitions, so many signatures on so many petitions, filing it, and then you recall the individual, you run another election. And you could do that with every single person, all the way up to your federal level. I think the president is probably the only one that you can't recall. You could recall a governor. Okay, so there's a lot you can do. I don't think you can recall a president of the United States. Probably the only one you can't recall.
So how many people have you recalled for sheriffs?
Well, I haven't done any of that, because we're working on building committees of safety. If you want to take back this government, and you want to fix the problem, and you want to require these people to obey the law, which is the Constitution, and hold their feet to the fire, then you have to put time into it. Look, liberty is not free. The Constitution is not going to protect itself. The Bill of Rights is not going to protect itself. These people don't even know what the Bill of Rights, anything about the Bill of Rights. Okay, you listen to the judges. If you listen to some of these interviews in the Senate, for some of these people, the judges that are brought up to become federal judges, they're morons. They're total morons. They don't even know the Constitution. They don't know the Bill of Rights. They're total morons. But that's what they want, because you can get stupid people to do stupid things, and this is what's going on.
So my question for you is, and I'm not being confrontive. Why can't we focus on one of those COSs that you have a good deal of people in here and start recalling sheriffs?
Because you only work with inside your own counties. And county to county, you're inside your own state. State to state, you take it to the federal level.
So
but
there's no place.
Your federal level, you're working even your federal level from within inside your own state, because you have actually within inside your own county, because you have representatives. So you can recall the representatives. You can't recall the representatives of the representative next door to you in another that is covering different counties.
No, I'm not asking for me to do it. I'm asking why those places that you guys have a foothold in, why you can't do it there.
Because we teach people how to turn the sheriff. Look, the sheriff is as dumb as you and I am. Okay, until you learn how government works, until you learn the law, and how the courts work, and how the political process works, which is what we teach. Okay, you learn all those things, and again, no one person has to learn all of it. Many hands make light work. So some people will be focused in on the political, some people on the judicial, some people on other things. Education. So you have different subcommittees within your committee.
No, I'm
going to tell you about the sheriff. So what happens is, once you get a certain number of people, I suggest maybe 15 or 20 people, that's when you approach the sheriff. Okay, and you approach the sheriff and you give them the proper tools. We have handbooks. You can either print them off in PDF, or you can go out and buy the handbooks. It's the sheriff's handbook, powers and authorities. You can get them a copy of the book, Government by Consent. You can give it to the sheriff, have a meeting with the sheriff, give it to the sheriff. You want, a group of people going in. You want to do your charter and your resolutions for the committees of safety, so he understands who you are and what you're doing. And he sees what, because that's what it lays everything out. All right. So you give them a copy of your resolution and your charter with the resolutions, and a copy of the book, Government by Consent, and a copy of the handbook for the sheriff's power. And you say, hey, we'd like to talk with you. We'll give you a call in 4 to 6 weeks, and maybe you'll come down and we'll talk. You can talk to our group. Now, he's going to look at you as constituents to begin with, okay, and he should. Okay, if he's not interested in talking to you, well, then fine. Then you get together, and you walk petitions to recall him. And in that process, someone will fill that void, because someone else will want to be that sheriff. And they'll probably come to you, to that group, because you're doing a recall for them, and then you can educate that individual. And if they're not interested and they get in, you recall him too. look, it's a matter of the people getting up and doing something. Liberty is not given, it's not free. None of this stuff is free. You have to work for it, you have to fight for it, and sometimes, as Jefferson said, it costs the blood to keep it. I mean, we've become very close to blood here in this nation already, very close to that. So that's how you do it. But you have to, the thing is this, when you talk with that sheriff, and if he's receptive to it, okay, he's receptive and say, okay, yeah, we'll get together in 6 weeks to come talk to your people, and, we'll have some communications. Well, then he's going to start looking at the book. That book, the Sheriff's Handbook and the Government by Consent Handbook, that will empower that sheriff with powers and authorities he had no clue that he had. And that will give him an interest. Or if he's a crook, then he's not going to be interested in doing recall.
So you don't have any COS that has 15 people in any county? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I didn't say that. We have.
I'm asking.
No, I'm telling you. Look, this is volunteer here, and it's difficult for us to get down into all of these committees of safety to try to work closer with them, which is what we'd love to do. We have to go professional to do that. So we're not professional. Right now, I'm answering your question. We have 204 committees of safety in process across the nation out of 3,133.
And you don't have that.
Oh, well, a lot of, I don't know how many, we don't have direct communications with these people. I don't have the time for it, and we just haven't been able to do that. We need to go professional to do that because it's going to be full time to have communications with these people.
So you don't have 15 in yours?
Don't have what?
You don't have 15 in yours?
I just started my committee of safety a couple of months ago with a few other people. We have about 6 people right now.
So when you get to 15, then you'll have enough to do that?
15 to 20 people will approach the sheriff. We already know we're going to have to recall the sheriff. He's a crook. But maybe I'm wrong. So I'll take that back.
Every sheriff is a crook if they're not going out and arresting people that are employees.
I say that not because he's exercising his authorities unlawfully and doesn't know it. I'm not saying it for that reason, because that doesn't make them a crook. They think they're doing the right thing. But I'm talking about, some a crooked sheriff breaking the law, filling their pockets, that kind of thing. So anyway, that is a problem. That you're not going to turn that sheriff to bring justice into your county and to back the people up and work with them to protect their rights. You're not going to get that sheriff to do that because he's in the game. But I'll tell you what, I just heard on the news, we've been hearing this for a long time, but not the regular news, but podcasters who have taken up that job of bringing news, and a lot of them have really become very sophisticated and doing a really great job. They've matured over the years. They've been doing a lot of these people have been doing this 6, 8, 10, 12 years now. And they're really good at this, and they got a lot of information coming out. And there's information we've heard for a long time, but we now hear that coming out of the Justice Department that there's over 400,000 indictments. I forget the number, 4,000. What was it? 400,000. Well, whatever it is, over 400,000. I forget the number, but over 400,000 indictments across the nation. That's how corrupt our government has become. And that's not even everyone that's breaking the law. Those are the ones that we know about and that have been caught and indictments have been filed. And I'm sure there's more indictments going. We've almost lost this nation. This has been going on for quite some time. This isn't something that just started a couple of years ago. This is something that goes back well over 100 years. And actually it goes all the way back to the beginning of the nation. The problem has already existed in the very beginning. Even when our founding fathers were debating the Constitution, already the enemy was in the gate. It was already in amongst us, causing problems. They're the ones that maintained and kept slavery, to keep people divided. They're the ones that brought in and changed our court system from courts of law to courts of chancery. This has been going on for a long time. We know it and understand it today as the New World Order.
So my question is, why would I want to start a COS if you don't know how many people and we can't coordinate with each other?
Because every county has to do that. That's up to the people.
No, I'm asking I'm asking, can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm asking everybody there that is in the NLA why you guys aren't all coordinating together that are COS members is what I'm asking.
Because most people are not doing this. That's the problem. People.
No, I'm asking the ones that are doing it. Why you guys aren't coordinating?
You've got 200 and some odd. Well, how much? Let me go back and look. 204 committees of safety. That's 204 counties in various areas throughout the United States. Okay.
I realize that they're in various areas. I'm asking why you guys aren't coordinating together.
We do coordinate, and it's an education issue. And you can't always pull people away from earning money and taking care of their homes and their families. And it's not an easy thing to do. And I suggest that you might want to try it, but that's up to you.
Maybe you can volunteer and work with us and communicate with these people with us. We'll train you and teach you the things you need to know, and you can start communicating with them and hopefully working them out to structure their committee of safety properly and working together.
Yeah, I guess I'm very confused.
The problem is everybody, people complain, okay, and they're not happy with what's going on. And it's become worse now with Trump coming into power and authority because now people are becoming even more complacent. They figure, finally, Trump's going to take care of it. I don't have to do nothing. See, so that's another problem that's in the minds of people because, again, they destroyed our logic. I mean, look, common sense has been lost on the wayside a long time ago. And Trump is trying to bring it back, and so are we here, and I'm sure there's others trying to bring common sense back. But people have become complacent. They don't communicate except for in these stupid little smartphones. They tweet back and forth. They can't get anything more than a paragraph or two. They don't read books no more. They're playing games all the time. And again, this isn't everybody, but it's a majority of the people. But again, what has really destroyed us, really, technology has injured us quite good. Look at it's a curse and a blessing. Because with technology, there's a lot of things we can do and advance ourselves in many ways. But there's the bad side of it, and it brings us into complacency. And that's the problem. So, again, I've said this before, we are looking for a critical mass, because if we hit critical mass, somebody out there will have some deep pockets and say, hey, look, I'm going to throw some money into this because that's what you need. No organization trying to do what we're doing is going to succeed without money, and that's the problem we have. I'm not rich. I don't have money. Do you got money? Can you give us money to do this? And pay people so we can go professional. Once we go professional, then we're going to expect results. Someone said it to me this way, John, I got good news and I got bad news. I said, yeah. He said, what's the good news? The good news, John, is we got volunteers. The bad news, John, we got volunteers. That's the answer to the problem. That's the problem in a nutshell.
Hey, whether I have money, Elon Musk, Donald Trump has money, Bezos has money. There's a lot of people that have money. That's not.
You know how to ask for it?
Huh?
Do you know how to ask for money? Because I understand there's a process. I don't know the process. And but the bottom line is I've asked a couple of people for money, written some letters, told them what we're doing, referred them to the website, even to the books we've written and different things, and nothing. Don't hear anything. So
I don't think money is the answer, because if money was the answer, this would have been solved a long time ago.
Well, that's not. How would it be solved if money was the answer? Let me tell you something. First of all, we have an education problem in this whole nation. We have an education problem.
Amen.
We need a proper education.
Amen.
We are poised in a position, and we have there's a couple of us that have the ability to write books, authors, and we've written lots of books on the subject matter on common law and government by consent and many other things. Okay, all working around really the law, because that's really what we're all focused in on. But it takes time. We need to write books and get a proper education into the school, because there is no proper education in the school. And who's going to give them a proper education? Who's going to create that proper education? I don't know of any entity out there capable of doing it. Okay, first of all, you have to understand that first of all, we're a republic and who we are as a people, that we're a natural law republic, that the foundation of our government is natural law. It's a covenant with God through the Declaration of Independence to be under His laws and receive His blessings. And in the Constitution, the preamble of the Constitution, one of the six requirements of government is to secure the blessings of liberty. Now, they're not doing any of that, and nobody seems to even understand that. Okay, why is that? Because we're all dumb. That's why we've been dumbed down. Now, to some degree, it's not our fault because we just haven't been properly educated. But to another degree, there's a lot of people that have been woken up to this thing, and they still haven't done anything. So, again, if a people expect to be ignorant and free, they expect what never was and never is going to be. That's it.
I agree with you, but it's the fact that common sense is being obliterated by education. And
That's right. That's why we have to have a proper education.
No, proper education is common sense. And
exactly. A proper education. Jefferson spoke about that. He's exactly right. It is common sense. Okay? The whole nation, common law is built on common sense. That's what common law is, common sense.
Well, and we agree on that. And so what I'm saying is that what's going on is our lawyers, our judicial system, our employees, and now even just about everybody in America has now ignored common sense. They don't even know that they're being financially raped by our employees. And that is when you go to somebody and you say, if you own a home, our employees should not be able to steal money from us. And if you make a living, our employees should not be able to steal money from us. That's common sense. And when you explain it to them that every year they're stealing money from you because you own something, that is theft. But when you explain that to somebody, they go, you're right, but that's what the law is. And that's the ignorance of common sense, is that they are actually committing crimes. And then when we go and say to our people that are committing the crimes, our employees, stop committing these crimes, and they go, no, we're going to keep doing them. We're going to keep financially raping you. That's the ignorance that everybody here in America has.
Because people don't know how to have government by consent. They're not aware of it.
I agree.
The solution, here's the solution, okay? The solution, and we've been working for this for many years, 15, 16 years, I don't know how many years. We've been working at this for quite some time, but it's taken us a lot of time to construct and build a proper education, which we have on our website. A lot of information to build the website with all the education that we have and the books we've written and so on. So it's taken time to do that. So that's where we're at, okay? And we got almost 12,000 members, okay? But most people really are not active. That's the way it is for any organization. What we need is critical mass, because only critical mass is going to really bring us to where we need to be. We don't have government by the majority. We have government by the majority that participates, okay? So if you get a certain number of people, let's say, I should remember these numbers, but let's say 50 people per county times, let's say 3,000 counties, just to make it simple. So we need 150,000 people across America to totally take 100% control of this entire nation, and we'll have perfect obedience to these 150,000 people, because that would be the true committeeman. And you have to understand how the political process works, because these people are not going to get onto the ballot unless the committeemen take their papers and gets them onto the ballot, okay? And the statutory committeemen, they'll fall away once the true committeemen arise, which is free and independent, okay? One of the big problems with in the political process with all these committeemen, they get all these volunteers that come in, work for so many years, either become crooks when they only need a few crooks, so they're going to have everybody paying off on this. But the bottom line is, after a while, you start to realize that you're a sucker, that you're walking papers just to get people into office that are there to destroy this country. Either through ignorance because they're too busy taking the payoff somewhere, or whatever the case may be. So that's the problem. But that will all fall apart once you get the true committeemen working that are free and independent within every county across America. Now you have control to put these people on the ballot and to take them out of power when they violate their their oaths. And until people get together to do that, we're not going to have government by consent, because that's the only way you can have it, is government by consent through the committeeman process or the committee's safety.
So I'll leave this with the last question. It seems like some of you guys have an issue with what I'm saying. Is that correct or not correct?
Well, no, not really.
No? Okay.
No, you're right in the point, but you're wrong in the solution. You don't understand the solution. Maybe you're getting it now, that you have to come together with people.
I don't agree with your solution. I don't agree with your solution.
What's your solution?
By
the way, this is not my solution. This is our founding fathers' solution. So what's your solution?
My solution is God, not the founding fathers.
Well, of course, that's the bottom line. Well, God's going to do what He's going to do.
John, I just want to finish. My solution is not my solution. It's God's solution, and what it is the founding fathers recognized what it was, and that's why they wrote in the Declaration of Independence, one people can get rid of that political bond, and that political bond is our employees violating our rights.
How did they do that? How did they get rid of Britain? How did they get rid of England?
Because what they did is they declared... How did
they do it?
I'm going to answer that. Let me finish.
But you got to define they. Who are they? How did they
keep interrupting? Let me answer, okay? Because you go through there, and if you read the Declaration of Independence, it's independence from human authority, and that's how they did that. And I do not want to get here. Let me finish. I do not want to get back to the point where we have to do another revolution. I want our employees who are now doing human authority. They're not going by God's authority. And that's what the solution is to get these employees to not do human authority. In other words, they're violating our rights using their authority, their laws, their policies, and that's my answer to your.
So how are you gonna take that back? How did they do it? Who was they that created this nation?
Because England had a king, and they had a monarchy, and they also had a people that were religious, not godly. They were the government, and our founding fathers said Jesus Christ is our authority, and they stood up for that authority to the point that you don't let me finish though, John.
But define they, the people. Who are they?
Every American on this every human being on this planet is they.
Well, every human being on this planet is not in one accord doing this. I'm going to tell you who they are. They are the committeemen, the committees of safety. Our founding fathers created this nation through committees of safety. That's what you have to understand. That's how they became powerful, and that's how they became united, and that's how they came together and debated the Constitution and even the Bill of Rights to bring us together as a people. And to control this government, they executed the committees of safety. And George Washington had a lot to say about this. Okay? Now, that's the only solution. We got to get back. They infiltrated the committees of safety. We'll call them the committeemen, because that's what they're called in the political process, and they are committeemen. Okay? They've infiltrated the committeeman process, which is the political process, and they put party bosses in charge of them. They statutarize them, and you go in and you serve at the pleasure of the party boss. Every county has a party boss. You serve at his or her pleasure, and if they don't like you, you're out of there. You can't exercise your right of government by consent in that system, nor are you going to get anyone into power or authority that's going to be worth anything, because they just produce for you either the criminal on the right or the criminal on the left. So, you see, you keep saying the committees of safety that my way is not right. It's not my way. This is our founding. This is This is to what they did. And we just need to emulate what they did and resurrect it. And that's how we take this nation back. We take it back with about 150,000 people across the nation. But that requires critical mass to get the message out to millions of people. And when out of those millions of people, we can get 150,000 people who will step up and take the authority to bring, and we'll grow even bigger than that, because we also have an education plan for the people within the county to get them to know and to understand, to give back, to join up with the committees of safety.
Well, the Committee of Safety is not the one that fought the British.
I would like to make a couple of comments.
Yes, it was. The Committee of Safety is what brought together and discussed and brought together the First Continental Congress. It was the Committee of Safety that brought forth the Second Continental Congress. It was the Committee of Safety who ran the war and created a temporary government and temporary presidents throughout that process of the war. It was the Committee of Safety that came together and debated the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It was the Committees of Safety that executed this government into being. So I don't know what you're talking about. That's the history. Go ahead, Terry.
Two things. One, every signer of the Declaration of Independence was from a Committee of Safety. That's how they started organizing. Now, as they grew, then they could make different places. They eventually made the Continental Congress, and they could start working. And they drafted the Articles of Confederation, and later on, after the war, they made the Constitution. But there is an education problem, and we have to be able to talk to people, and we have to get them off of the center. And the one thing that we are missing right now is what Jefferson wrote in the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, and that is that we have to establish new guards to prevent what we are in right now. We didn't work on new guards, and now that's how we got to where we are. That's enough. I yield.
Well, that's exactly right. You see, every colony had committees of safety, and they were their own self-government is what it was. And then they came together and they became the states. And each state, created committees of safety. And as we grew, and counties and so on, became county committees of safety or the county committeemen. To this day, it's the same thing, only except it's been robbed. They stole it from us. That's the problem. So there's only one way to save this nation. And there's only one way to exercise your unalienable right of government by consent. And united we stand, divided we shall fall. You have to work together with people in your own community. All government, all control of government is right from the grassroots.
If I'm offending you guys, I don't agree that
you're not offending us. It's a good conversation.
Oh,
you have certain ignorances, and I'm sure I do too, but pretty educated on the subject matter I'm talking about, because I've done research and I've written numerous books on this particular subject matter. And
this is what I would like to just state, and I think there's more ways than just one to bring back our rights and to save this country, America, because we've got a great Declaration of Independence from human authority, and I think I'm not saying that the Committee of Safety.
They don't care.
I just wanted to say, just this, and then, I don't want to take up any more time from anybody.
Well, talk about it, because you're the only one in the queue right now. If anybody else wants to get into the queue, that's fine. But
sure.
Look, it's good to have disagreements, because then you talk and you make your positions, and eventually, hopefully, minds are changes, and we come closer to closer.
Yeah, and that's where I'm coming from. So I hope that I'm not offending anybody. And what I'm saying to you guys is that I do not disagree with you that the Committee of Safety here is not a solution, but I'm disagreeing with the fact that it's not the only solution. Because I think if many people get educated, whether it's through a Committee of Safety or they just know what their rights are, or if they know that their rights are being violated by our employees, I think there are many ways to do this. I think many people could be made aware, and I call it cognitive dissonance is what I call it. It's people's ignorance of their rights. And that's what cognitive dissonance is cognitive dissonance says, Jesus Christ, our rights don't matter. The only thing that matters is what the law is, and that's when I say the law, they're referring to the employee law. They're not referring to God's rights as law. And I think there's numerous ways, and I'm not discounting your Committee of Safety.
Well, let's look at your idea. Okay, fine. You still have to come to look at you discover a problem and you go to fix it, and you're there by yourself. Who's working with you to do this? How many other people are working together to get this job done? Okay, if you want to recall someone, you got to go out and get signatures on petitions to recall someone to take them out of office. You can pull anyone out of office within 90 days just by filing the petitions or the recall. Okay, but you need people to walk those papers. So you have to, united we stand, divided we fall. No man is an island. You're not going to defeat this. You're not going to defeat this on your own. Okay.
Dealing with that, but I have God on my side, and so
look at God's going to be the final solution for everything anyway. And God's not promising that we're going to have a good government before the end comes and He returns. He's not giving us that promise at all. Okay.
So can I present my way, and then I can?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That.
So here's my point, and kind of my challenge to you guys is to also the Committee of Safety, but also to look at what I'm doing. So what I've done is I've gone through with my district court and with the appeals court in Minnesota. I've gone through and I've said you guys are violating the innocent and you're writing policies that violate the innocent. And I said that needs to stop. And that's where my warrant came through. And I said, you guys, are you going to refuse? Are you going to honor your contract? And you call it a covenant. I'm going to call it a contract. Are you going to honor your contract to not violate the innocent?
I didn't call it a covenant. The Declaration of Independence is a covenant with God. We have no contract with it.
I agree. That is a covenant, and it's a contract with God. And then there's a contract between the employees.
No, we have a compact. There was no meeting of the minds.
I'm trying to present my side. I don't want to argue about it.
We don't have a contract with the government. You may keep saying that. I know a lot of people teach that. You don't have a contract with your government. Look, the government is supposed to serve you. And it's a compact, and we the people ordained and established the law. We are the lawmakers. We established it. The problem is they got the guns, and they've taken control of all the institutions, and they ignore us. You think all this paperwork you put in is going to go anywhere? It goes right into the garbage. It's just a matter of time before it goes into the garbage. Maybe they'll leave it in the records for a while. But believe
me, John,
destroy these things.
So is yours gone into the garbage? It's gone nowhere. That has to,
I'm not saying that that's not true, but also look at when we file something. For instance, we filed numerous papers with the United States with the federal courts, numerous papers.
So
the bottom line is we ended up with an indictment because they're all guilty of subversion. They're guilty of conspiracy. They all do the same thing. Whatever you do, whatever they're doing in Pennsylvania or New York or Texas or Montana, it's the same thing. That proves conspiracy. And that's why we filed all the papers we filed, to prove that conspiracy. Then we indicted the entire federal judiciary, and we brought that to the United States Supreme Court. And we also filed it with the Attorney General. We started off with Sessions, and then Barr, and now Bondi. Okay, but you see, we're pushing it to the hilt where we can go. Our next step now is really to deal with Congress, and potentially because the problems with the U.S. Supreme Court, I think we have to indict them too. Not that it's ever going to take effect, but we're setting the stage and we're putting the evidence together. So I mean, you're doing the same thing to some degree, but on a lower level. But again, even with us, they ignore what we do, but it's still on the record in numerous places, and that is the key for us. And
it is for me too.
Okay, well that's good.
And my point to you is that that's what it takes. It takes all of us understanding that these guys, however you want, it doesn't matter the semantics, that these guys are a conspiracy. That's one of my filings.
How are you going to get all of us to come to an understanding? How are you going to do that?
Nobody can do that. Jesus Christ can.
Well, that's the end of the world. But how are you going to do that? You can't do that, but you can do that with committees of safety. That's the point. You have to come together with one mind. You have to get the same education. You have to
That is your
understand.
opinion. That
You
is
have
correct.
to understand who we
I
are.
understand your opinion.
Well, it has a lot to do with what you're saying, but then you're falling short. Okay,
According
because
to you, yes, you're saying I'm falling short. I am not falling short of the glory of God. Everything for me is not falling short.
I didn't say that. I didn't say you're not falling.
Saying that. I'm saying that.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're falling short of being successful at anything if you're doing this all by yourself.
Neither one of us has been successful. Nobody's been successful, or this wouldn't be continuing.
Well, you have an opportunity to work together to try to become successful by creating committees of safety. Look, again, it gets back to critical mass. If we got 3,134 counties in America, okay? That's how many counties. If we can get 2,500 counties up and running with committees of safety, it's a slam dunk. We take our government back. It's over with. They're going to be obedient or they're going to be out of office. It's that simple. And Trump is getting rid of all the criminals. There's 400 and some odd thousand indictments out there about to be unsealed. They're moving towards arresting Obama and that whole clique, all those people, you know, the CIA and the Justice Department with the Biden administration. I mean, all those people are they're going to be arrested very soon. I think within weeks and maybe even days. And so he's cleaning house from that end. Now it's up to the people to step up and take that house back. You know, Trump said in his first inauguration speech, he said, I was not elected to take power. I was elected to take power and give it back to the people. Well, the people can't take it because they don't know how to take that power. They don't know how to have government by consent. That's the problem. And if they're not willing to spend their time to learn it, then they don't deserve liberty. You don't deserve the United States of America as a common law republic as it should be. You don't deserve it because you can't keep it because you refuse to give back and do your duty.
Then none of us deserve it then because it's not happening. And I disagree with that mentality. And that's fine.
What do you disagree with?
I disagree with it. It has to be done only through the COS. I disagree with that.
Call it whatever you want, but people have to come together and do the job. And then you have to, you have to be structured in such a fashion as this county can work with that county, to understand the political process, the judicial process. And like I said, no one person has to understand all these things. People will have an interest in the political process. People will have in the militia. People will have in the educational process within your county. People will be interested in the judicial process. You know, there's lots of subcommittees within the committees of safety, and they have a job to do to bring a proper education back in every single school within that county, to bring every town and village back under the will of the people, okay, and the cities within that county, to bring the county government back under the will of the people, to bring a congressman up to the will of the people, and working together with other counties within our state to bring the governor. And of course we have other people. We have the state senate, and we have the assemblymen. Well, they call them different things in different states, I believe. But here in New York, we have assemblymen that's similar to Congress. Okay, so in order to we take those people back and require them to be obedient to us, to do our will, to stop doing things outside of the Constitution. If the people aren't doing this, then nobody's doing it. They're just running amok because that's what they've been doing for, almost 200 years now. Well, over 100 and some odd years anyway, since the real destruction started, going back into 1871, Organic Act of 1871. But the conspiracy was already in the gates. I'll tell you why. It goes all the way back to 1750, before we even became states, while we were colonists. That whole process of destroying who we are as a people already was taking place.
I guess my point here is that I'm not opposed to what you say. And that's my point of contention. I agree that you can.
I think you might realize what we're thinking. You just look at. You can call it. Don't call it. If you don't want to call it a committee of safety, don't call it. But you got to get together with the grassroots level, with people that have the same mindset, get the same education, and work to do the things we have to do to take back the control of our government. But we have two other people. We do have two other people that came into the queue. So I'll give you 30 seconds.
Yeah, this is the last thing I'll say. I'm not contending what you're saying is not a solution. What I'm saying is there are other ways to get to that result. And the result here is to get everybody that is conspiring against us here to stop conspiring. And I'm saying to you and everybody here that's listening, there are more than one ways to skin that cat.
Okay, well, maybe another time you come in next week or another week, and you tell us that plan, because I'm interested in hearing it. Because no matter what you do, you still have to gather people together with the same mindset to work together, because one person can't do it.
And that is my point of contention here with what you're saying.
You think one person can do it?
Yes.
Well, how do you do that? You don't have courts of law. That's the only thing you can use. There is no law that we can use, because they've closed the courts of justice back in 1938. They closed the courts of justice. They're gone. They're not here no more. We're under civil law.
And how I would answer that is, in 11 years after the Declaration of Independence, they wrote a law to steal from people who were rich enough to own a pocket watch. And that's when I would say that our employees said that the laws of God no longer matter. And that's
maybe we could discuss that another time. So.
Yeah, and that's what I would say. I don't want to discuss it now. I
want to take these other two people, because we only got like 10 minutes left.
That's the angle that I'm coming from, John, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But let's talk some more another week. Next week we talk some more.
Sure.
But I want to get these two people are in the queue. They came in just
I don't want to hog any more time.
Huh?
I don't want to hog any more time.
Okay. Thanks for the call. Let's take another Terry from New Jersey now. You got it, Mike. Terry.
Hi, John. My name's Terry Beck. I'm from New Jersey. I was just hearing the previous callers, and it's kind of disturbing. I was one of the 500 people that filed charges against our New Jersey governor. I believe that the action people should take is grassroots. Stop the talk, move the walk. Just walk. We've had several people in our lives we met in Jersey that just bitch and moan all the time. Oh, yeah, this should be done, that should be done. Well, guess what? If you think you have the answer, do it. Don't call in. Do it. Take action. I just want to commend you and your buddy and just say, cheers, keep going. And you know what? With the way I do at my Trump rallies, and I tell Secret Services in Bedminster, New Jersey, yeah, I'm here to educate assholes. Sorry for the language, but I had to just tell you that, John. Kudos.
Well, appreciate that. Thank you. And you're right. Grassroots is it. You can call it whatever you want, but we do have to get the proper education, and we need a Jeffersonian education, and that's what we put together. We put together a Jeffersonian education. We've got so many different courses here. Most of them are free, and we ask the people for the other courses to give us $5 a month or more if they can. So, but anyway.
Yep, and there's constitutional lawyers out there who have looked at your site, read the documents, and they read them, understood them thoroughly before they open their mouths.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, no problem at all. God bless. Have a
Thank
good night.
you, too. Thanks for the call. Okay, we'll take our last caller here. It looks like David. What state you're from, David, if we got your name right?
Yeah, I'm in New Jersey, and I appreciate the calls. My first time on here, but I noticed that a lot of the I go in a lot of these things. I try to find similarities, and like the one caller said, there's multiple ways, but there's not really that many multiple ways. If you read the Federalist Papers and Blackstone's commentary and the Maxims of Law, Black's Law Dictionary.
Now you're talking about the education our founding fathers were under, and
yes,
absolutely.
These people that are coming on and wanting to asking why you're not doing anything, they're not reading these documents. And if somebody comes on and starts asking questions for like an hour and trying to get their point across, I would just say, look, ask them if they read those documents. If you haven't read those documents, then you don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, it is true that we do need the education, and but even there's different educations that people can get educated into in order to participate. Again, if you want to understand the judicial side of things, we've got a huge amount of education for that. We've got even a 90-hour law course that we teach that you could take, and we've got we're building administrators for the juries, the grand juries and the petit juries. So we're building administrators so that we take it away from the bar attorneys who control the courts. They control all of our juries.
Right, exactly. So when these people come on and they ask you all these questions and give you all these cockamamie ideas and just take up time, all the groups do it. I mean, everybody, the newbies come in and they don't want to come here and learn. They want to come and see why you're not doing anything, but they're not doing anything themselves. They're not, like you said, they're not grabbing a group of people together. They're not trying to educate them. They don't even know what to educate themselves. So I wouldn't waste time on, especially a lot of time on these people. I would give them some grace, but I wouldn't.
It is a good conversation, and it is good to open up the different ideas and thoughts that people have. Whether they're good or bad is irrelevant. The thing is hopefully as time goes on, we can correct each other through conversation. So that, of course, is the main purpose here of our Monday night programs. But we do give a really in-depth education. We do have a copy of the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers. We have them not only in PDFs, we have them in MP3s. We have videos. We have all kinds of things to educate people. But it is overwhelming. Okay, this, it is. But again, many hands make light work. So we come together. One person's good here, one person's good with that, and the other one this. We're covering the whole bases that our founding fathers covered. Even down to the militia, all the different committees necessary in order to take this nation back. We have the three branches of government, and we have to take control of those three branches of government. And
exactly right.
Our founding fathers taught us how to do it. That's all the research that we had done to put this website together. I didn't create this stuff. I didn't create the committees of safety. I didn't create all these processes. This is what our founding fathers did.
Right.
We're just learning from them. So all of those books you mentioned, Blackstone and all of these things, and the different papers, the Federalist Papers, the Constitution, all these things, we have to be familiar with. And everybody should know the Constitution, though, inside and out. Because
and not only that, all the 50 state constitutions, Bill of Rights.
Well, that's true too. There's a lot of problems.
They're all interconnected.
Yeah, there are a lot of problems on a lot of the state constitutions, but they're corrected by the supreme law of the land, which is the federal Constitution. So, and the yardstick or the ruler, in order to see if something is lawful or not, ultimately is the Bill of Rights. Anything that violates the rights of we the people, okay, which extends far beyond the 10 amendments,
Right, exactly.
So,
thank you for hosting the call and educating people.
All right, well, appreciate the call. Thank you. All right, well, we've come to the end of our program, so we're going to end things for tonight. We'll be back next Monday, and Lord willing, we'll see you all. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.